Hi everybody, welcome to Midweek. Got my friend Jeff here, and we are excited to kind of cue you up on Priority One, and maybe a few other things, like voting, those kind of things. What is Priority One? We started it about 15 years ago. Some people call it the old days of missions conference. We just said Priority One because it captures, kind of the subtitle of Priority One is Pursuing God's Missional Destiny Across the Street and Around the World. We use the term Priority One because it is our Priority One. What is that? It's to evangelize the world. That's why God called us here. Jesus said, I've come to seek and to save that which is lost. And he kind of handed that baton off to us. Go make disciples. So Priority One is not because we don't like the title Missions Conference. It's because you say Missions Conference, that doesn't have the same bite, directive focus as Priority One. Because when you say that, you have to ask yourself the question, is it Priority One? And that's what it has been for us. Every year, we do a little bit of a different rotation on Priority One. We have an international focus, like last year, Bible translation. We have done other things, and then we have what we call a regional or local focus. Remember, for those of you who've been around for a long time, we had Luis Palau. He was about, again, loving your neighbor. We've had Reed Saunders. We did one weekend on gender issues and the effect. And then we've also looked at children at risk internationally. So there's all kinds of things. This year, we're kind of back to a regional focus. Next year, international focus. And this year, Pastor Jeff, one of the areas you love is apologetics. Absolutely. And you're very good at it. So help us understand what the direction of is, and then we'll look at the biblical worldview. But what's apologetics?
Apologetics, in the most simplest terms, is developing the ability and the capacity to give a reasoned, well thought out defense for why we believe the things we believe. The classic verse in Scripture is that 1 Peter passage that says, always be ready to give a defense for the hope that's within you. Yeah. Yet with arrogance and condescension, and gentleness and patience.
One of the areas of apologetics is, and you're hearing it all over the place, and it's a good phrase, biblical worldview.
Yeah.
What other worldviews are out there?
Oh man, that's a great question, because there are myriad competing voices. I think that we're in a battle for the mind. Yeah. And we have so many different competing options, whether it's X or whether it's the Hollywood or whether it's our music. There are so many different ways that we can have input into our mind that then affects the way that we interact with the world. And that's always changing. The cultural trends are constantly changing, and we've got to have an anchor that doesn't change. That's Scripture.
So worldview is going to deal with some elements. Mm-hmm. A biblical worldview is the lens of the Scriptures on those elements. Right. Let's list a few of them. Number one would be creation. Where did this world come from? From a secular worldview, this world came from time, chance, and energy.
Yep.
From a biblical worldview, this world came from
a purposeful, intentional designer that infused you and me and my neighbor with his image, requiring us to treat all people with dignity and respect because you are purposeful and not random.
Another one in worldview is the issue of humanity. Mm-hmm. In a secular worldview, a non-theistic worldview, you would say humanity came by chance, right?
Right.
And it has ultimately no intrinsic value because it's pure chance.
Yep.
That means, from a secular worldview, you could say one person, honestly, this person over here is no more valuable to me than my dog.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In a pure secular worldview.
Right.
We're actually, a pure secularist has a hard time defending their own intrinsic value. Mm-hmm. From a biblical worldview, where did humanity come from?
Well, humanity came from God's design, and truth being objective and apart from our subjective experience, we now have a tiebreaker. When you and I have conflict, Our tiebreaker is God, the purposeful creator that put purpose and meaning into our lives, versus you are a random accident, I'm a random accident, and our truth is relative to maybe who's stronger or who's smarter or who has more resources. It's really hard to live as a moral relativist and be consistent.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of things. And this weekend, who's our kind of primary plenary speaker that's going to be talking about development? We'll talk about the schedule here in a minute. Give us a little window. Who's Sam?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Sam Raju is a gentleman who was recommended to us by a friend. As we have spent time talking with him, watching his videos online, he is such a clear thinker. He is a passionate communicator, and he is going to help us discover and define what a worldview is, and then I think more importantly, how do you actually live that out? He is so excited to be here with us. He has traveled all around. He's been doing this for a long time. He's gifted, and we are lucky to have him.
So Saturday, and we want you to sign up so that we know how many notebooks to make.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Saturday, 9 to noon on Saturday of Priority One weekend. What's going to happen in the 3 hours?
We're going to have 3 different sessions where it is going to be lecture format. It is going to unapologetically, no pun intended, but it's going to be intentionally designed to equip us. Where Sam is going to break down in an intellectual, academic way what a worldview is. We'll have 45 minutes together. We'll take a little break to stretch, get some snacks, get right back in there, figure out how do you define a biblical worldview. And then that last session is going to be application heavy. How do you live it? Yep. What difference does it make?
And then Sam's going to be with us for the weekend. So it is Priority One, pursuing God's missional destiny for us across the street and around the world. And I'm convinced, you're convinced, you're going to leave this weekend in a better way equipped to have engaged conversation with people. You're going to develop the capacity of asking good questions. And you're going to have a grasp on other worldviews. And I think that's really important. Because to be honest with you, I don't think the average person runs around thinking that they actually have an intact worldview. Yeah. They have opinions on things.
And there's that old adage that we've all heard that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah. And the scriptures say it a different way, this in a much more eloquent way. The scriptures say there's going to come a day that people will exchange sound doctrine for whatever their itching ears want to hear. And that day, I believe, has come, which is why the church has to be resolute in their understanding of what the scriptures teach and how we can align our lives and our beliefs with the standard of truth that does not change. It's not your truth, it is the truth.
Yeah. the common phrase today, my truth. It's like, oh my goodness.
My experience.
Drives you crazy, doesn't it?
I'm okay with my experience. But my truth, silly.
Priority One weekend. We're going to finish it off Sunday night. Yes, we're going to have a film. It's a documentary. It is called Project 1916. And it documents the foundation of thinking and practice that started with Planned Parenthood, but also grafted in such individuals like Hitler and a score of others, and walk us through ideas have consequences. And what we've chosen to do on this one is you've been trained over the weekend developing this biblical worldview. Now we're going to put some subjects up there like life and conception and other ideas and consequences and allow you to begin to apply. We're going to finish that evening with a little Q&A on some panel, and it's going to be a really fun evening. Again, on Project 1916, we've both seen it. We're going to say probably
PG-13.
PG-13. Talk to us if you want, and we can kind of walk through as to, there's no, it's the content. There's no graphic issues.
It's just heavy.
Really heavy. And to be honest with you, quite informative. I would say we all came out of that going, wow, I never knew some of this stuff. It is hard-hitting, important stuff. So Priority One this year, huge weekend for us. This weekend, we're coming up and we're going to be back in Ephesians, and then we're going to take that break with Sam coming in and looking forward to it. By the way, how's Upward going?
It's going really well. We've got 2 more evaluation nights. We set an all-time record with 206 kids on Monday. We're smooth sailing. We're excited for 21 years.
That's fantastic. One last thing. Yes, we got these. We were talking about them at staff, and then lo and behold, they got delivered. What is this? It's a voter guide. Here's my new motto this year. 1 vote, I'll get it, 10 prayers. Why? Because this future of our country is really a spiritual issue, not a political issue. However, Paul used the political system. Paul used a variety of means to advance the gospel. Paul even told us, pray for kings. Why? Because you want peace in the land. You want to advance the gospel. So it's not an either or, and it's not putting them against each other. 1 vote, 10 prayers. This will help you look at some measures that you don't have a clue about. The national office, we probably know most of those things, but there's some other things in here that will be helpful to you, and it really trains you to think not person, but platform. And I think that's really critical. Don't think person, think larger platform and value system, and if you do that, you're going to be in good shape. These are here this weekend. Pick them up. God bless you. Hope you have a great day.